Am I audible to everyone?
You're audible, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. So, good afternoon to all who are present, who have already joined in the second day of the seminar. So, we already lined up their series. So, our today's speaker already, see, madam, already have joined with us. So, now I request our principal, ma'am, Dipti ma'am, to kindly introduce with our speaker, ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Jai Hind. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. So, today is the second day of our webinar series, and we have with us our eminent speaker, Professor HEPSI NATHA, madam. Madam is currently working or serving as a vice principal cum professor at Government College of Nursing, Ajinwad, Uttar Pradesh. Madam is a PhD scholar from Swami Vivekananda Subharati University, Meerut. While holding more than 16 years of experience in teaching and clinical, Madam previously served as an assistant professor in TMU Moradabad and in the Florence Nightingale College of Nursing, Andhra Pradesh. Ma'am has valuable clinical experience as a staff nurse in CTICU at Manipal Hospital, Bangalore and Nizaman Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad. As a certified simulation trainer from MRSC and INC at SGT, University Gurgaon, Haryana, ma'am has also published 5 patents and copyrights. Ma'am has been honored with the prestigious Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan Award, and she is actively participating and contributing as a reviewer of research articles published by Elsevier and has commendable record of publication in national and international journals. Madam is holding various leadership roles, including research coordinator, PG coordinators, University Research Council chairperson, and ma'am actively contributes to committees such as examination coordinators, NAC criteria in charge, and NEP 2020 implementation committee. Madam serves as a resource person and moderator in international conferences and national conferences, workshop, webinars, and also presented research paper and the posters in the same national and international conferences. We are proud and we are happy to have you, madam, today with us for such a fruitful topic today you are going to take. And on behalf of Samarpan Institute, and as you are my senior, you are my mentor also sometimes, I welcome you to the Samarpan group and for this entire that with these all the students are sitting here and the participants. Thank you so much for joining us and all stages. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful introduction about me. Once again, very good afternoon to all of you. I take this privilege to thank the management and the chairman of Samarpan Group of Institute, Dr. R.S. Vipesar, and the principal and dear friend of mine, Samarpan Institute of Nursing College and Paramedical Sciences, Dr. Dipti Shukla, ma'am, all the organizers and the faculty members, for and being a part of this webinar series. I'm really proud to take up this session today. I think all the audience will have a happy learning. And this is a very, I really congratulate the organizers and especially the Principal College of Nursing, Dipti ma'am, for organizing such a wonderful webinar series on the main theme, that is evidence-based research application modern nursing. And as today is the day two, and my topic is on selection and formulation of research area, that especially statement, objectives, and hypothesis. Let me share my slide. Ma'am, whether my slide is visible?
Ma'am, it is visible. You can make it as a side share only.
It is in slide. This is in.
Ma'am, it is okay. It is okay, ma'am. Go ahead.
This is okay, right, ma'am? Okay.
Yes, yes. All right. Yes.
So mostly the students, when we are the students, just in either in for MSc students or for BSc students, when we ask them to formulate some research statement, problem statements, and get some 5 to 10 statements, mostly this is the main foremost step where researcher will start facing the difficulty. Mostly people think that okay, it is very easy to formulate, but it is not so easy. It is a complex process. Students or anyone, the researchers will face difficulty how to select it, how to identify it, and how to formulate the research area. So for this, today is a session where we will make it very simple, and then students also, I think they will gain the knowledge out of this day two session. So they also will feel very easy to select, identify, and even formulate the research statements, research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. So let us move on to the topic. Coming to the introduction. So the word problem originated from the Greek word that is probedian, which means to throw forward a question proposed for solution or a matter stated for examination. And a research problem is a question where the researcher wants to answer or a problem that a researcher wants to solve. So this is the first step of the research process, that is identification and formulation of the research problem. So it is considered as one of the most challenging and difficult phase of any research project, because mostly researchers will face the difficulty in identifying and formulating the research area. And it is mostly believed that the selection of the good research problem is a discovery in itself. Coming to the meaning of the research problem, what exactly meant by research problem? It is a topic researcher would like to address, and the researcher would like to investigate, and researcher would like to study descriptively or experimentally, either quantitatively or qualitatively. And the research problem is the question which indicates the gap in the scope of knowledge that is needed for the professional knowledge. To identify the gap, the main focus is towards this research problem. And it is the difference between the researchers known and what should be known, because through the review of literature and as per the area of interest and the expertise in that particular subject, the researcher has to identify various research reviews to know what is already known and what to be known in further. And it is the research, mostly people think research problem and research problem statement both are same, but seems to be synonymous, but not exactly the same. And these two aspects are really quite different. And it is not the research problem statement is not merely a research problem or the purpose of the study, but it is a well structured formulation of what actually the problem is and what is not well understood and what is lacking, which is to be discovered to solve the problem. So it is a structurally made where the problem statement contains the type of study that is either quantitative or qualitative, which can be easily identifiable, and there where we can even have the variables especially to be identified, and even the sample also to be included, and variables like dependent or independent variable, and even the setting of the study. So in that structure way the problem statement will be framed. And coming to the definitions, various authors have given various types of definition. Coming to the first one, as per the Curlinger, according to Curlinger, a problem is an interrogative sentence or statement that asks what relation exists between two or more variables. And according to Horace Woodworth, defines problem as a situation for which we have no ready and successful response by instinct or by previously acquired habit. And Whitney states, to define a problem means to put a fence around it, to separate it by careful distinctions from like questions found in related situation or in it. So this is the definition of research problem. So one has to find out the solution for a particular problem. For that, need to be identified first, then select, and then finally formulate it. And why to define the research problem? What exactly? Why we have to define? Because defining the research problem is similar to defining the destination before beginning a journey. So obviously, before we travel anywhere, so we have to have a destination, where to go, when to go, So we will have so many questions with us, and as per it, we have to move forward. So same likewise here, defining it determines the following, like what you will do, like what researcher would like to do, and will it withstand scientific scrutiny, and how you will do it, and how you may achieve. So all these questions need to keep in mind so that the research problem can be identified. And let us move on to the next topic. What is the criteria for selecting a good research problem? So everybody wants to do some good research, and which is of need of an hour, and which should be especially related to our nursing. As we are nurses, we are mostly looking towards a nursing profession, whether it really um, um, uh, meet the needs of the nursing profession or not. So here, this is very important criteria for anyone, for any researcher to know how to select a good research problem. So here it is. There are two important types of criteria, that is internal criteria and external criteria. So again, under internal criteria, it is further divided into three important types. That is researcher's interest, researcher's competency, and researcher's own source. So if you look at to it, so internal criteria, it is like researchers himself. He need to have some interest towards the selecting the research problem. It is mainly based on the researcher should have some expertise in the subject and the area of interest. Because even though the researcher is having good knowledge about the research, how to conduct, if he is not having interest, obviously the output will be not that much fruitful, because without any interest nobody can do anything. So that is foremost important thing, that the researcher, though he is having an expertise in his experience related to the research, knowledge on the research, still the researcher need to have the interest to find out the exact research problem where exactly he would like to do. And next one is researcher's competency. Obviously, yes, even though if he's having interest, but competency level is also very important for the researcher to select the problem. Next is researcher's own source. He even need to have his own source to identify, to gather the information, and even he need to see about the cost, the feasibility, the significance. So everything gets involved in it. So these are three important aspects, criteria that comes under internal criteria. Next, about the external criteria. So again, external criteria has significance, researchability, novelty, urgency, and feasibility. The name itself says significance. In order to conduct any research or in a research, first of all we are going with the research problem. So first of all we need to see what is the importance or significance of the present current scenario. Like if you would like to take on any topic, whether is it feasible, whether it is researchable, and why I have to do this research. As we have seen, why to define the research problem, there are various questions being given. So same like that, what is the significance of this research study? If I, as whether it is the trending topic, whether it is useful, because if some, for example, in during the COVID pandemic, many research studies have been taken place, because those researchers are really helpful for all the general public, including even so that immediate output can, that those findings can help the others to implement those particular things. So significance is one of the important external criteria. Next is researchability. Obviously, though you have significance, but you need to make sure that whether that particular research problem you're going to select can be researchable or not, whether we can able to do research on that particular topic. That also need to be seen. And next is novelty. You know what is the meaning of novelty. So you need to see whether any novel ideas you're taking out when you select the research problem, so that it will be good result, which will be a benefit not only to the in the nursing field, not only to the patients, even to the family members and even to the community. And you need to see the urgency of that particular research problem, whether is that particular problem what you're going to select is really urgent for the present time, so that these values or these recommendations or the conclusion can be used for further. Next is feasibility. If the researcher is having, if the researcher is having good knowledge, his expertise in the area of interest, even though it is significant and researchable also, sometimes the researcher may feel, maybe due to non-availability of the subjects, okay, maybe due to some ethical consideration problems, ethical concerns, maybe the study may not be feasible. So everything in each and every step need to be note down the list wise. So he has to say, okay, whether it is feasible, whether it is researchable, whether any urgency is there for that particular research problem to be selected. So whether it is all the criteria, if it is set right, then he can move on to the further thing. That is feasibility. Next, again coming under feasibility, as I've already told you, there must be availability of the subjects, whether those subjects are available or not. Next, coming to the resources, whether the resources are available, because to conduct a research, it is not so easy to simply conduct. We need to have resources. Okay, not the study, even time frame, because, for example, some funding organizations or some statutory bodies, if they fund, they'll give some time frame. Within that, you have to complete your research. So in that way, you have to select a research problem in such a way that the research problem should be time bound, and within that time, he or she should complete that particular research. And coming to the cost, obviously, based on the type of topic you select, cost will vary, and cost obviously it should, if there is no external funding agencies, if it is self funding, obviously that should be borne by the researcher itself. So cost is also very important, that you need to keep it in mind before selecting any problem statement or problem. Next, cooperation of others, obviously the cooperation of others. Without cooperation of others, like in case of ethical committee, even the participants in each and every level of the research, the cooperation of others also should be there. And sometimes for selecting the criteria, better to go for the experts' suggestion, because experts are already expert in that particular field of research. So they can go for the expertise, decisions, and opinions, so that the researcher will get some idea how to select the research problem. So these are the various criteria, that is internal, external, and internal also we have studied many types, and even external also. Next, let us move on to the sources of research problem. There are various sources of research problem that most of us know. So from where we can get the idea to identify or select the research problem. So there are various sources like nursing practice. Obviously, as we are nurses, we'll be working in various, like mostly nurses. If in the healthcare sector, they'll be working with the patients at the bedside. If it is in the educational side, we'll be working in the college with the students. So during our nursing practice, obviously, we'll have many ideas based upon the situations we face or meeting many people. So we can pick those particular ideas to select the research problem. Next is literature review. It is very very important, because this is a main. The researcher will get an idea what researchers have been done, and what was known and what is yet to be known. So with that idea, because recommendations will be written in the literature review, where you can take off those. Okay, and if very few literatures were available, obviously we can take out that, and if it is really need for the researcher to do it, as if it is as per the area of interest, he can even choose it, and this is one of the best source for the research problem. Coming to the theories, obviously theory is also one of the best source for research problem. Even personal experiences also is one of the best sources of research problem, and replication of study on new population. So if the study topic as per the area of interest, if researcher would like to take the particular study which was already been done, he can do the on same type of research on other population, and he can compare the results with the old study with the new one. If there is any changes, he can project those results, and he can disapprove the old result, and he can update the current results in the form of publications in various national and international journals. And coming to the social issues, so as per social issues also is one of the best source of research problem, like female feticide is one of the concepts, or women empowerment. So there are various other social issues where when you come across these type of issues, sorry. So this is when you come across these type of issues in the society, that also will create an idea for the researcher to identify the research problem. And consultation with the experts, as I've already told you, even consultation with experts, I told you that if they're expert in the field of research and that particular specialty, you can consult, a researcher can go and consult those experts so that they will give various ideas, and we can see if it is feasible, whether it is significant and researchable. Obviously, you can take those ideas and you can generate new ideas for the for the research problem. And coming to the brainstorming, so brainstorming is also one of the important thing where the experts can make some group discussions, because when you have many people in a group, obviously you get many ideas. So you can take ideas from everyone and you can make one important idea which is really important, and then that is one of the best source for the research problem. Coming to the external sources like funding agencies or any statutory bodies, if they're funding, and even they also will give various ideas while contact them, so that also will be a best source. Other sources are also there like intuition. Reflection of oneself. Self is one of the best sources. If you feel that best idea for yourself, obviously you can make one new research problem can be generated. These are the various sources of research problem, that is nursing practice, literature review, theories, personal experience, application of study of new population, social issues, consultation with experts, brainstorming, external sources, other sources. Let's move on to the formulation. This is the important uh, aspect in the formulation, because once already we have completed how to select it, how to identify and select it, and now next step is formulation. Now we have to formulate the research problem. So formulation, we have 5 different steps are there. First one is selection of research topic, next review of literature or based on the theories, next is delimiting the research topic, and the fourth one is evaluating the research problem and formulating the final problem statement. So let us see each topic. Coming to the formulation of research problem. So first one is we have to select the research area. We have already discussed in the introduction part. Let us once again have a blank on it so that you will get much more clear idea about how to formulate the research problem. So initial step is selection of a research area. So formulation of a research problem begins with the selection of a broad research topic. Always in this research problem, first you have to take a broad research topic where you have to narrow it down as per the interest, because you cannot do it on a broad topic as it goes very lengthy. So and you cannot even get the result, you cannot yield a fruitful result. So always select a topic of your interest in a broad way, like from based on the various sources we have seen, like personal experience, literature, previous research and theories in which the researcher is interested and which has significance for the nursing. We have seen various criteria and various sources also. So from that you can take one important area of interest regarding any topic. And for example, you can see some example here. If a researcher gets an idea to conduct a study on female feticide, so what a researcher will do? He or she initially begins with such a broad research term. First, they will do what is female feticide. He will start reviewing. He will start taking out the review of literature, any study being done on female feticide. In a on a broad sense, he will take out the female feticide and he will start reading that particular articles. Next is reviewing literature. Once after selection of the research broad research area, then he or she will start searching the review of literature and the theory. So once getting the broad idea, he or she will needs to review the nursing literature and theories. So literature is reviewed to know what had already expanded and the existing body of knowledge in the respective area of research. Review of nursing theories provides an opportunity for the researcher to plan a research problem to contribute towards either testing or development of a theory or a conceptual model. So, review of literature and theories will give an opportunity for the researcher to have a plan for the research problem, so that it will help either to test the theories or even to develop the theories or the conceptual models. Next, third one is delimiting the research topic. Once after reading the review of literature and the theories, and third step will be delimiting the research topic. How you will delimit the research topic? So in this step, what the researcher will do is he will proceed from a general research area of interest to a more specific topic of research to conduct a study. So mostly what we do is first take a broad area, that is general aspects of the topic, and obviously it has to come to the narrow down to a more specific topic, especially we can have a look here. The example we can see, then all of you will understand. Coming to the example, initially a researcher decides to conduct a study on female feticide. Later, as we have seen in the earlier slide, that a main broad area is female feticide. So later, in this delimiting the research topic, what he or she will do, the researcher will do. The later in this stage, the researcher limits to a specific research topic, like in statement is given here like this: a study on the perception of women about causes and prevention of female feticide in selected rural communities of district Shimoga. So in the district of Shimoga, so here she has taken only one concept. What is that specific concept? The audience can drop your answers in the chat box there. So here it is not a simple. The researcher didn't take complete female feticide. So female feticide even have various aspects or various concepts. In that, the researcher has taken the perception of women about causes and prevention of female feticide. Here she has taken only the causes and prevention is not the whole female feticide. Only the narrowed down topic or specific topic is on what perception of women about causes and prevention of female feticide in selected rural communities of district Shimoga. And at this stage, what the researcher will do, he identifies the variables, population, and setting of the study. If you see here the problem statement, you can see various variables being given over here. Okay, and even the population is the women, causes and prevention, they are the variables, and setting of the study is the rural community of district Shimoga. So this statement contains all the things whichever is necessary. So anyone whoever reads will understand what type of study it is, where it is conducted, what are the various variables, and who is the sample for this study. So furthermore, the research is also quite clear about the phenomenon to be studied, where and at whom. So it is very much clear in this delimiting the research topic. Once already the specific area been selected, and later on the researcher will decide where to study, with whom to be studied, and what is the exact phenomenon or a concept that to be taken into consideration. And the next fourth step is evaluating the research problem. So once the researcher is clear about the specific, already identified the specific research problem, so the research problem must be carefully evaluated again for its significance. Whether the particular topic which is the particular specific topic which is selected, whether it is significance to my study, what I am going to do it, whether it can be researchable, and whether it is feasible at this particular point of time to conduct that particular study need to be seen. And feasibility of the research problem should be evaluated for time. Need to see the time, cost, availability of subjects and resources, administrative and peer support, ethical consideration, and whatever we have studied earlier. All these things to be seen in this evaluating the research problem. So once after getting a clear idea what exactly the research problem to be taken, it need to be considered. It need to be considered. Next, last step of this formulation is finally formulating the final statement of research problem. So after establishing the significance, researchability, and feasibility, finally the researcher will formulate the final statement of the research problem, mostly in a declarative or a interrogative form. So let us see how to make the declarative form and interrogative form. Here we have an example of the problem statement in declarative form as well as in interrogative form. So let us see the declarative form. Identify the factors that influence stigma among chronic mentally patients. And this is how we have to write. We know what is declarative form and what is interrogative form. Declarative form will be in the form of a sentence, and interrogative in the form of a questioning way. So next, in interrogative form, what are the factors that influence stigma among chronic mentally ill patients? And the second is association between stigma and process of recovery among chronic mentally ill patients. Whereas coming to the interrogative form, how to write? What are the effects of stigma on process of recovery among mentally ill patients? Or you can make it another way. How does stigma affect the recovery process among mentally ill patients? And the third form way of writing is efficacy of nursing intervention on decrease of stigma among mentally ill patients. This is how we can make the declarative form, whereas in interrogative, is nursing intervention effective in decreasing stigma among mentally ill patients? This is how you have to write the declarative form, and as well as in the final statement, formulation of problem statement, either could be in declarative and interrogative, and this is how we have to write, and it is shown in the form of the example. These are the 5 important steps we have seen. Next, moving on to the components of the problem statement. In quantitative study, A well-written problem statement mainly comprises of two important components. One is the population, other one is the variable, either one or two variables we can say to be studied. So these are the important two components need to be included when you formulate the problem statement. So mostly problem statement can be formulated with the help of record format. So you all know what is P stand for population, I stand for intervention, C stand for comparison group, O stand for outcome of interest, and T stand for time. Coming to the description, if you see, the researcher has to keep in mind which specific population he is interested in, what are the characteristics of the patient or population, and what is the condition or disease of interest. If you see the example here, in case of mentally ill population with stigma, their age, duration of illness, area of residence, etc., will come under this population. Coming to the intervention, what is the interventional study intervention that we are going to implement it on the sample, especially this that is intervention will be used for interventional studies only. That is experimental. Let's come to the example empowered based nursing intervention. This is one intervention which helps to reduce the stigma. Next, coming to the comparison, you all know what is comparison group. What is the alternative to the intervention? So, empowerment based nursing intervention and routine based nursing intervention. Next is outcome of interest. What are the outcome measures? And as if you see the example, what is the main objective or a goal of the research? Here, stigma is present. So, what is the main outcome of interest after the study? That is reducing stigma is a main important aspect. And coming to the time, what is a suitable follow-up time to assess the outcome? So, follow-up time to assess the obviously follow-up time to assess the outcome is an example of this. So, this is how we have to use record format for developing a problem statement. Hope you all have understood. Next, how to critique the problem statement. If someone is asked to critique the problem statement, we just critique my problem statement whether I have written clearly or not. So, as a critic, when we have to critique, we have to see all these points, whether that particular problem clearly stated or not. Is the problem statement written in a single declarative or interrogative sentence, or the study variables and the population included in the problem statement or not? And is the feasibility of the study apparent when reading the problem statement? And is the research problem significant to the nursing profession? And next, is the research problem fit with research priorities, whether the research priority has been given importance or not? And is the research problem fit with previous research, whether we have any previous researchers available in the form of review of literature? All these things need to see, and then we can, if we give the critic, if any discrepancies or any lacking is there, again that problem statement can be reframed by adding all those things. So after you all know, after formulating the research statement, obviously we need to know. So I'll just in 1 or 2 minutes, I'll just brief out about the purposes of research study. So all research studies have an explicit or implicit purpose statement. So most of this purpose includes what variables to be studied, population and setting of the study. The research purpose states why the study is being conducted. You know what is the purpose of this study, why we are conducting this study, and what is the goal of the study is about. And the research purpose should be stated objectively without reflecting research bias. Here there should be no researcher's bias. It should be objective in nature. And the purpose of the study is more commonly seen in journal articles and specifies the type of study to be carried out. Next, here there are some examples. Here are some examples. Some action verbs need to be used while framing the purpose of the study. Like in case of correlational study, you can use to determine, to examine, to identify, or to understand. In case of descriptive studies, you can use to compare, to contrast, to describe, and to identify. And in experimental studies, mostly we can use like to determine, to examine, to investigate, and to measure. Mostly, the students will have confusion how to start to write the purposes, and there'll be two essays or like to determine. So you all should know which type of study, what type of action verbs to be used while framing the purposes of the research study. Next, coming to the research question, this is also very important where the research questions to be framed once the formulation and purposes are formulated. So it is a refined, focused, structured, and well-defined statement of the research topic. So it is more precise than the problem statement. Most they are used interchangeably. And is a simple, brief, and interrogative statement. Obviously, question itself is an interrogative statement where the research question should be written in an interrogative statement, which is expressed in present tense only. Here, the students will make mistakes like they think whether we need to write in a present tense or a past tense, present continuous. So always the research questions to be written in the interrogative statement in the form of present tense, and it includes study variables and population, and it specifies the relationship between the variables to be examined, that is dependent and independent, and it generate research questions will generate from the problem statement and derive the methodology for the study. So you may ask, from where we get these research questions? After formulating by using those 5 different steps for formulating the research statement, once after it is framed, then out of this problem statement only the research questions will be generated, and these research questions only will help the researcher to move further in the and which will help to direct the methodology for the study. Next, coming to the research objectives. Coming to the research objectives, it is an active statement while describes what is to be achieved by the study and how the study is going to answer the specific research question. So it is a clear, concise, declarative statement which provides direction to investigate the variables. So obviously, in various ways, in even nursing process also we write various objectives. What is the main goal or an objective? Because the whole research process will go, the whole research study will go with the help of objectives only. So based on each objective, you have to statistically prove the hypothesis whether it is whether it is proved or disproved. Next, coming to the purposes of objectives. What is the main purpose? First one is to direct the preparation of protocol. It helps to direct the preparation of the protocol, that is research protocol. And the objectives facilitate development of methodology, and it even helps the researcher focus on relevant variables in the study and guide what information is to be collected. And it helps in evaluating whether the research goals have been achieved or not. Because see, each and every objective, obviously we go with each and every objective based on it our statistical analysis also we will do. So it will help the researcher to evaluate whether each and every objective or the goal, whether it have been achieved or not. Next, coming to the characteristics, always the objectives should consider these characteristics like it should be specific, it should be measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic and time bound. So specific, it should address a single issue. Each objective should address a single. It is not like you will have 2-3 issues in one objective and you write. No, based upon the type of research you take, type of problem statement, and the area you take, obviously see how many variables you have, see how many concepts you need to. So better you write each an objective with one single issue, especially focus on what, how, where, when questions and have no loopholes. Coming to the next characteristic, it is measurable. It can be evaluated, able to quantify the variables, and achievable or attainable, able to attain the objectives within the available resources, and it should be appropriate to the given condition, that is to be realistic, and it should be time bound, which can be achieved within the expected timeline and with the available resources. Everything need to be planned before in hand. These are the various characteristics of the objectives. And coming to the other objectives, obviously the objectives should be clearly mentioned, clearly stated, and it should be complete. The same. You have the objectives to be written completely, which includes the variables. That here next is identify main variables and based on the study purpose and provide the direction. Always it shows the direction for the next objective. So complete it needs to each and every concept to be mentioned, including the sample, that is population of the study, even the setting of the study and the variables also to be included. These are the other characteristics of the objectives. Here, there are two important types of objectives that everybody know. Mostly we call it as general and specific objectives. Here we have in the research objectives, we have broad or main objective, and same likewise specific or secondary objective. Coming to the broad or main objective, this is very important. Everybody should concentrate on this. Coming to the description, these state what is to be achieved by the study in general terms. The key aspects of these objectives are usually only one per study, as I've already discussed, only one per study, because general objective is general and a broad aspect. We write in once in a one objective we will frame as a general or a broad main objective related to core problem and topic of the study. Show target population, and use action verb. That is related to the broader main objective. If you see the example, how to frame the broader main objective, we will write to determine the factors associated with the increased number of direct cases among under 5 in selected village. This is an example for the main objective or the broad objective. Coming to the specific or secondary objective, what are these objectives are? These objectives are systematically address the various aspects of the problem. The key aspects are each objective address a single issue, several in one study, use action verbs. So these objectives will be generated from the broad objective. Or you have to understand that the secondary objectives will be taken out from the broad or main objective. So here there are each and every concept will be taken into consideration and you will be divided into each aspect that you will be writing it. Here is one example you can see. To find out methods used for water treatment, to determine the feeding habits of the underflies, to find out the methods used for excreta disposal. Here, there is a broad objective where you have seen it is only one objective you have framed is taking the core problem, and here you have jotted down these taking out from the main objective. You have framed these three other objectives in the form of specific or secondary objective. That's how you have to frame this research objectives. Next, formulation. How do you formulate it? Objective should be listed in the introduction of the research protocol that after the problem statement. Obviously, in the introduction part only, we are going to list down all these objectives. Proper action verbs like determine, find out, to identify, or to be used while formulating the objectives. Like to find out, to determine, to assess, to identify, to examine. Next is objectives can be formulated in quantitative as well as qualitative studies based upon the type of design we choose for the study. And in quantitative studies, objectives should be clear, concise, and declarative statements that prove the direction to investigate the variables. And it focuses mainly on measuring the variables, identifying the relationship among themselves, and determine the differences between two or more groups with reference to the selected variables. So in qualitative studies, these objectives are more complex and abstract in nature. They focus on obtaining the holistic and comprehensive understanding of the area of the study. So it varies from quantitative to the qualitative. Here is one example of the problem statement and research objective. So here on the example of the problem statement, it is given as efficacy of holistic group health promotion program on stress and well-being among adolescents. So this is among adolescents. So this is a problem statement given, and coming to the research objectives in return to assess the academic stress and well-being among adolescents. These are specific objectives that they have framed for this problem statement. What is the first one? To assess the academic stress and well-being among adolescent girls. To implement the innovative holistic group health promotion program for 4 weeks. Here, the intervention is innovative holistic group health promotion program, which will be for 4 weeks. And the last one is they are going to see the effectiveness of that intervention. So third objective is to evaluate the effectiveness of intervention by comparing post-test stress and well-being scores of experimental and control group subjects. So here they have mentioned only one concept in one particular objective. So here they have used the action concept to assess, to implement, and to evaluate. That's how you have to frame the specific objectives. So this is an example for the problem statement and the research objectives. Next, coming to the tips of framing research questions and objectives. Here are some of the tips that we have already discussed. So which we have to carry out a systematic literature review to improve knowledge and familiarity with the topic. Gather input from experts, mentors, and colleagues to refine research questions. Use finer criteria for developing the research question. Ensure that the research questions follows PCOT format and make certain that research question and its objectives are relevant, feasible, and answerable. List the primary and secondary objectives, that is, broad objectives and the specific or secondary objectives, and develop research hypotheses from the research questions. Coming to the variables, actually, because variables also is very important to be studied, because when we talk about the hypothesis, we'll come across the relationship between variables. So you should know what these variables. So hence, I just even wanted to take a briefly about these variables also. So one should know what are variables. So it refers to measurable characteristics of people, things, and situations that can change or vary. That is example, pulse rate, anxiety level, degree of pain. So variables are those which are measurable in nature, and these are characteristics of even people that can vary from one person to the other and also have different values along the continuum. And some variables are concentrate and clear, such as gender, type of blood group, type of residence, etc., while others are abstract and weights such as anxiety, depression, attitude. There are various number of variables that you can see, and here are some of the variables which are inherent characteristics like age, blood type, weight, and sometimes the researcher creates variables for conducting. Even the researcher will create some variables for conducting their studies, like it's nursing interventions to reduce pain, various relaxation techniques to reduce anxiety, etc. Number of variables that can be measured is unlimited. If you can take any number of variables, it could be one, more than one, two, or even multivariate also. You can use multiple variables also you can use. And the complexity of the study increases with increasing number of variables, and the longer is the time required for data collection, statistical analysis. Always, if you have a time bond, make sure the more number of variables, longer the time duration of your data collection and the completion of your study. So always see the time frame, time bond. As per the study, you have to select the variables. And depending upon the number of variables, the study can be univariate, that is, you can take either one variable, bivariate, two variables, or multivariate, that is, multiple variables. Coming to definition, it is a characteristic event or response that represents the elements of the research questions in a detectable way. Already we have discussed, so I'm just giving this. Okay, now let us see what are the types of variables. We have so many types of variables. First one, we have the independent and dependent variables. So these two variables are interrelated and are mainly observed in correlational studies, interventional studies, pre-experimental, quasi-experimental, and experimental research studies. Will be seeing these independent and dependent variables because dependent variable is dependent on the independent variable. So let us see what is independent and what is dependent variable. So independent variable is also called as manipulative variable, where the stimulus or activity that is manipulated or varied by the researcher to determine the effect on the dependent variable. So here the researcher will manipulate so that the researcher would like to see the effect on the dependent variable. Next, coming to the dependent variable, which is also called as criterion variable. So here the researcher wants to predict or explain and is the outcome or response due to the effect of the independent variable. So for the intervention or here we have seen in this independent variable, there will be manipulation. So due to manipulation, okay, the researcher would like to see any change, okay, due to the effect of the independent variable is there. That is, and the dependent variable is
There is some network issues, so kindly please wait for 5 more minutes.